Alberta. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Friday, June 14th, 2024, and we are talking about Alberta, not Vancouver, not Avenue Q. It's the province of Alberta where Edmonton is and the Stanley Cup was last night. The Florida Panthers have taken a commanding 3-0 lead with a 4-3 victory that will show as being much closer than it was, as there was a 4-1 lead by Florida going into the third period. Edmonton scored 2 to have a chance at the end, but they fell short. There's going to be a Stanley Cup victory parade in South Florida. The Florida Panthers are going to join the Marlins, the Heat, and the Dolphins as championship organizations in South Florida. While South Florida is digging out of torrential monsoon-like rains, where every day it's like a foot. We were just talking about this, Coca. Every inch of rain is over a foot of snow is the equivalent. Imagine a 10-inch rainstorm is getting a 10-foot snowstorm. You wonder why not everybody could get to Batard yesterday. You wonder why people are figuring out they easier to kayak to Publix than it is to walk. They will find a parade route, and you can bet your bippy that Vinny Viola and Matt Caldwell are beginning to think about the possibility of the parade. Do you go Miami and Broward, just Broward? Do you say forget Palm Beach? God, those were great days when we were planning the parade. We didn't get to plan in advance, even up 3-2. Couldn't take the chance playing the Yankees. But when you're up 3-0 in a series, it's not like baseball where only one team's done it. It's not like basketball where nobody's come back from 3-0. Wow, both the Celtics and the Panthers are up 3-0. What a banner year for a long playoff series. But in hockey, I think 4 teams have come back. The last one, I may have heard it last night from Sean McDonough. I'm trying to remember. It could be the Toronto Maple Leafs in 1942 against the Detroit Red Wings. But that means that I was listening to the game while it was happening last night and remembering that, which would be a shocking, shocking change to this half-baked brain. Greg Cody's going to be happy. Connor McDavid has 0.0 goals. Nothing. The Panthers have shown that you don't need to build from within. You can build your team with free agents. You can build it with waiver claims, with trades. 18 out of 21 players have come to the Panthers that way. Totally different than how the Oilers did it. And guess what? We're consequentialists here at Nothing Personal. Well, we meaning me. I actually never asked Coca. And I don't expect you as the audience to be that. That said, it doesn't matter how you build your team. In baseball, they talk about, oh, you got to build from the draft. You got to tank and you got to draft well. You got to develop and keep that pipeline going. A cup's a ring. I want to spend 1 minute here, if we don't mind, talking about Paul Maurice. Do you know that he's the winningest coach in hockey without having won a Stanley Cup? How about him having coached for over a quarter of a century and has never won it? We're going to get to talk about it when the Panthers win, but I just want to prepare you for how amazing it is and what Paul Maurice is thinking. He's a funny interview. He plays it cool. But right now, you could not, let me do that totally better. Ready? 4869. Right now, it's so tight in there that you couldn't shine a flashlight through it. Why? Because he's about to do something he's never done. It's the pinnacle. The Panthers, a laughingstock for so long under so many owners, have built to the point, have created this franchise. They're going to win a cup, Coca. I like it that the Rangers lost to the Panthers. I always like if your team to lose to the team that wins. Can we put up a picture? Do you have the picture of me and my son at the Panther-Ranger game? Once they win the cup, I'm going to show myself celebrating. I was thinking while watching the game last night a couple things. Every time there's a finals, I'm thinking 2 different ways. Any sport, it doesn't matter. I'm thinking about, of course, personally when I was a part of it. And then I'm thinking about the business side of it and how they're preparing and what they're doing. And then I think about the road that it took, all of the losing and what it means and how you enjoy the moment. And the Panthers are in position where they're very, very far away. For those of you who think that the Panthers would like to lose game 4 in order to clinch in Sunrise on Tuesday, that is a total crock of horse hockey. The Panthers do not want to play another game in Sunrise. There could be a rally. There could be a parade. There's plenty of time to celebrate. It's the same theory as the Celtics when they play game 4 in Dallas. You do not want to let up at all. The business side of it, the wheels start turning, whether it's designing rings or getting ready to raise season ticket prices, figuring out how you're going to take advantage commercially through sponsorships of what is happening with the Panthers. It's an exciting time. I love it. I love the celebration. Stanley Cup's one of my favorites. I love the handshake at the end. You know that. We'll talk about it. Something else happened yesterday. Let me do that better. We'll talk about it. Something else happened yesterday that is certainly worthy of discussion. Can you imagine? What did I not talk about, Coke? I can totally hear you. Oh, I did mention that. I told you that both series would end in sweeps and how the networks are totally despondent. I said the Celtics are up 3-0, and so are the Panthers. I'm not sure if people in the chat or Coke or what's happening here. So yesterday there was a big announcement, and it had me dumbstruck. It's hyperbole to say my jaw hit the floor. Well, I've got a big mouth, but it does not reach the floor. My legs barely do. When the Jacksonville Jaguars signed their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, to a 5-year, $275 million contract. Trevor Lawrence gets $200 million guaranteed and $142 million guaranteed at signing. Hold on, let me make sure I get this right. Trevor Lawrence slots in above Lamar Jackson. I don't care that Lamar Jackson signed the contract earlier, a year, 2 years. Don't care. He slots in below Herbert, Burrow, and Watson. What exactly has Trevor Lawrence done? Hold on, I'm going to take a count. This may delay the show. I'd like to count the number of conference championships. All right, I'm done counting with that, and I still have never have I ever. I got all my fingers up. Never have I ever won a Super Bowl. That's the only way to bring it down. Never have I ever won an AFC championship. Oh, there's another one. Never have I ever gotten through a season. I can't say that, actually. That's funny. Gotten through a season uninjured. Let's talk about last season. Jaguars were HO triple, 8-3. Anyone remember what happened to him at the end of the season? Anyone remember the ankle, the shoulder, the concussion? Remember the team finishing 1-5, missing the playoffs? These front offices in football are panicking. Yes, the cap is going up. Yes, revenue is going up, therefore the cap is going up. Yes, quarterback is the single most important position on the field. Yes, when you have a quarterback, you feel like one in the hand is better than two in the bush. Unfortunately, if you choose the wrong hand, you end up staying in the bush. You think Trevor Lawrence is a franchise quarterback the way, now we're not talking about Watson, because remember, Watson is the ceiling. I don't care who it is. You think Tua's going to beat Watson? No chance, toilet pants. Jordan Love? No. Dak Prescott? Absolutely not. That Watson $230 million guarantee, it's going to be there for a super long time because everyone is so angry about it. I didn't call it collusion. Everyone relax. Step back from the keyboard. I merely said that no quarterback should get $229 million guaranteed. Damn it. 4869. I merely said that no quarterback should get $231 million guaranteed. Why does the front office give in like that? So do you know that Trevor Lawrence, he still had the 5th year? after this coming year. It's only his 4th year. You could tag the guy twice. Yes, it is straight up on your cap. But what is it about teams that get so nervous? Tua himself has said, I'm a little antsy. Pay me. Why do you think quarterbacks or any football players get antsy for guaranteed money? Just throwing it out there. When baseball players want guaranteed money, you know why? Because their elbow hurts, their arm hurts, shoulder, knees, toes. Everybody wants guaranteed money. What's the risk? What does Trevor Lawrence have to do? What's the upside for the Jaguars? Oh, I get it. They don't have to find a different quarterback. There's always the next quarterback. Yes, did they tank for Trevor? They got Trevor. They got who they wanted. Does anyone think that Trevor Lawrence has been the type of quarterback in the NFL that he was supposed to be in the first 3 years? Anybody? Why wouldn't you wait? Oh, because of major salary escalation and cap exposure. Do you know what's worse than salary escalation and cap exposure? Incorrect allocation of cap money. We can talk all we want how running backs are undervalued, how wide receivers and defensive ends are now at value or overvalued, that quarterbacks are the linchpin of every single team. You can call up the middle in baseball the most important catcher, second, short, center field, and you want to be strong up the middle. But if you happen to have a right fielder who does more than your center fielder, shortstop, second baseman, catcher combined, you can say, hey, we're pretty strong there. The Denver Broncos taught you can win with a big name, but a subpar performance when they won their Super Bowl, when Peyton Manning was mediocre, though people won't talk about that. How many times do these quarterback contracts work out? How many times do we see, all right, there's got to be a renegotiation. We're going to extend them out again, try to lessen the cap hit. And then before you know it, you turn around and you're Russell frickin' Wilson. Am I comparing Trevor Lawrence to Russell Wilson? No. Russell Wilson's way better. Not today, but when he signed that deal, maybe not the last deal, but the one before it. Do the Dolphins have to stand up? Do you think Stephen Ross is looking at Khan and Jacksonville and saying, listen here, Chachi, I can't believe you just gave Trevor Lawrence that contract. I got my guy on the other phone livid, antsy, wanting me to pay up, give him $55, $60 million per year. For what? On the hope he doesn't get hurt? On the hope that he'll perform at that level, knowing that you absolutely crush your salary cap allocation and end up having to let players go. The Dolphins know that well enough. When you go for it, go for it, go for it, all in, you better win. You better be the Rams. I absolutely am fine with what the Rams did because it worked and we're consequentialists. Won a Super Bowl, got screwed years later, and now mired in mediocrity. Don't care. Ring time. It should show you how unbelievable the Patriots are. Just unbelievable what they did. So the Dolphins are going to be pressured to sign Tua. On top of that, you're going to have the Packers figuring out what to do with Jordan Love. Don't do it. They won't do it. They're not going to do it, nor should they do it. I guess my biggest issue when I read it last night, and this is all I kept thinking about, is fans of the Jaguars are cheering. There'll be a press conference. There'll be congratulations. There'll be handshaking. And this is not me being anti-player. Hey, Khan gave the deal. Lawrence accepted it. I do not blame Trevor Lawrence. I'm not upset with Trevor Lawrence. I have nothing against Trevor Lawrence at all. Never met the guy. But these teams, they start feeling it. I think that's your fault. Rule number one in the school of broadcasting and in the school of being a president of a team, don't ever blame the customer. Don't ever knock your fans. As a host of Nothing Personal, I'd like to believe that I live by those same morals. However, how come fans, when they get angry with a player who were super happy when the player was signed and they get angry, like, how could you do that? Like what Marlins fans did with Garcia when he was signed, it was, oh, yeah, we got a long-term guy. You guys were even happy when we signed Chen, for crying out loud, Meatloaf. And then when the player doesn't work out, we're the bums. You pressure to get people signed. How did it go in Boston with Chris Sale? Speaking of Chris Sale, we may talk about him later in the show. He's dialing for the Braves, who gave him that ill-timed. I guess you wouldn't even call it ill-timed given his performance. But let me tell you something shocking. The kind of season Chris Sale is having. I guess Leo Mazzoni knows what he's doing. Oh, I'm just kidding, Rick Kranitz. There's another coach of ours still in the big leagues, Rick Kranitz, pitching coach of the Braves. Now we'll get to that story. Sorry, Coca. I got totally distracted thinking about how the audience or the fans, the fan base, they want the press conference. They want to win the offseason. They want to sign their own guys. They have reckless disregard for the fact that the guys may not lead them to winning, but you feel like, oh, it looks like we're trying. Then I started thinking about Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones picks up the phone and he says, hey, Roger, get Con on the phone. I don't have his number. You daft PR blank blank K. There's a nod to Notting Hill. What are you doing? You think you're pressuring me into signing Dak? Not going to happen. What exactly are they going to do with him? Let him become an unrestricted free agent, let him go, start again, pay him. By that time, it'll be $60 million for sure. It's just a bad look. It's a bad look. I don't know the reason. I'm going to try to speak to people in the game, in football, and understand timing, because in baseball, we talk all the time about when to sign players, when to sign young players. And you see teams sign players like the Brewers did with Churio with 0 MLB experience. The Rays started that. You see people doing it with 2 years of arbitration left. You see teams doing it when their player's about to be free agent. It's really all over the board. And the reason it's all over the board is that when we talk about the likelihood of success of a particular sign, there's age, there is no salary cap, and so there is the ability of a team to absorb the lack of production from that particular player. How much of that long-term deal can you afford to just throw away if the player ends up not making it? In a salary cap sport, you can't have those conversations. You don't get a chance to double book. So you end up having to do what the Broncos did with Wilson. You release him and you end up with so much extra money that comes out of your pocket. Unless, of course, you could follow the other point of view, which we talked about with Russell Wilson. When you've got dead cap money, that's money that in theory you don't have to spend. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to work out well. I'm not doing a wait to see about Trevor Lawrence, but it's not going to work out well. Shout out to Michael Yormark, former president of the Panthers. They did not win much. Michael Yormark was there when I was there. It was rough sledding. They ran their team totally different than we ran ours. Totally different than how it's run now by Matt Caldwell down in Sunrise, which is run exquisitely. The Yormark brothers are incredibly good at marketing themselves. Brett Yormark is the commissioner of the Big 12. Brett Yormark has been in the news, hired. They are marketing guys. Brett Yormark is a marketing guy. Let me be very clear. Brett and Michael Yormark are really good at marketing. Brett Yormark was named commissioner of the Big 12, which for purposes of this segment, we're going to call it the Big 16. Why, you ask? Because starting this year, there are 16 teams in the Big 12. Don't get me started. I can't stand it. I don't even remember the number of teams in the Big 10. I only sure as heck fire know it ain't 10. Coca probably knows off the top of his head. Coca is very familiar with the Big 12 because it's got West Virginia. I just ruined it. I just totally ruined it, Matt. It's like the 5th time I've had to start over today. It's the Big 16. The Big 10 has 18 teams. What a joke. It's almost 2 Big 10s. It's the Big 10 on steroids, like the time you shoot in your tushy. So Michael Yormark's brother, Brett Yormark, did you like how I did that? Your job as commissioner of a conference, and he is the commissioner, Brett is, of the Big 16. His job is to raise revenue. He came up with a brilliant idea. Why don't we sell naming rights to our conference? Wow. I love it. Why wouldn't you? What's the difference? People are trying to come up with names. We already have it named. I want them to call the Cumberland Packing Corp people in Brooklyn. I want them to approach the manufacturers of Sweet and Low, and I want their conference to be the Sweet and Low 16. Get it? That's Sweet 16 like basketball, and then low because it's bad. Sweet and Low 16. Anybody? Hello? Anybody out? Is anybody alive out there? Don't get me wrong. I absolutely agree with selling naming rights to everything. What's sacred? Madison Square Garden? Why? I learned a lesson. Can I do a side note of a story here? One of the most important places in my life is a place called Camp Interlochen, which is a camp in Eagle River, Wisconsin. And Camp Interlochen was called Camp Interlochen until it sold naming rights and became the Steve and Sherry Sadik family Camp Interlochen. And there were a lot of people very upset about that. You are hurting camp, its reputation, its tradition. How could you change the name like that? And the view of the people who owned the camp, in this case, the Jewish Federation or the Jewish Community Center, the JCC, they realized that in order to continue financial aid for campers, in order to make sure the camp had money for capital improvements like a pool, let's say, they had to get more revenue. Everybody who owns a business is doing that. In the business you work in, everyone listening to this, whatever your job is, if someone would pay to name your company, do you think the owner of your company would do it? Yes, they would. We went through a list with the Marlins. This is actually a funny side note. Maybe just funny to me. We would do an inventory of everything that we would sell or wanted to sell if we could sell it. Baseball did the same thing. Oh my God, uniform patches. Heaven forbid. Outrageous. Does anyone actually care? Helmet patches. Visit Lauderdale. Can't be. Don't do that. Anyone heard of the Delta Center? I don't know if you remember that, but before I got into the sports business, when I was I must have been in college, and the Utah Jazz played at the Delta Center, I was so out of it. I just assumed the Delta Center. I was a math guy. Delta, change. That must be what it is. I never even focused on the fact it was the airline. My first introduction to naming rights was realizing the Delta Center in Coca. You can look it up. I don't know what name it became, the Delta Center in Utah. My first experience with naming rights is when I said, wow, that is the airline. And I was a North Central Airways and then Republic Airways and then Midwest Express. I was about to say Midnight Express. Hello. Good morning, everybody. What is it that can be sold? Now, you watched the hockey game last night, on ice signage. Different signage around the rink than you see when you go to a game. Now it's digital. We had an inventory. You sell behind the plate. You look to see where the TV cameras are. You sell the outfield wall for all the people in attendance. You can name everything. I'm the guy who, under 20 years ago, wanted to sell the foul pole to a strip club. I did. That's a true story, as told on Le Batard. They're always marketing. What'd be the difference? Your mark trying to raise $30 to $50 million per year that can be distributed to these clubs who are looking to increase their distributions now that they've expanded, trying to figure out different sources of revenue. Why is anyone shocked that this would happen? And people are like up in arms over it. Do you actually care if it's the sweet and low 16? If you're a Buffalo, I think Deion Sanders is walking around right now and saying, no way, man. I am the big 18 no matter what. You think Coca's not going to be a fan of the Mountaineers? Think he's going to switch to Pitt all of a sudden because it's got a corporate name? It's irresponsible not to sell the naming rights. If you've got an entity that somebody wants, you do it. You think that I'm a sellout, don't you? All of you are saying that. Well, the only people who are calling me a sellout are the people who have nothing to sell. Brett Yormark has way more to do. Not just sell naming rights. I mean, he could go to anybody. I mean, it's so brilliant. Who wouldn't you go to name a conference? It's way better than a bowl game. Maybe he'll go to like Snoop Doggy Dogg and say, do you want to upgrade from your bowl game? Want to name a whole conference? Unfortunately, it's going to take way more cash. I don't think it'll be Loan Depot. And I'm pretty sure it won't be Crypto.com conference. But everything else, so you're saying there's a chance. And Yormark's not stopping there, nor should he. Also out yesterday about the Big 16, or we're going to refer to them, can we, as the Sweet and Low 16? We don't want to give free advertising to Sweet and Low. Although it's not our money. What do we care? We wouldn't do it on our show. We're not giving free advertising to anybody. Look at that. Label this water. You bet your bippy. The other thing that Yormark is working on, he wants to raise money by selling part of the conference to a private equity firm. We covered that on the sporting class. They're looking at selling maybe 15 to 20%, but ignore the numbers you read because you never know the percent. This is funny how people go. Yeah, we're looking to sell. Jeffrey Lurie's doing this with the Eagles. We're looking to sell a minority share. Jason Kelsey, no chance. Taylor Swift, maybe. Dedicate an entire leg of your tour, and you could get 0.01% of the Eagles. Don't go to A-Rod. He's busy. But when you're out raising money, you don't know exactly what the valuation is going to be. You don't know exactly what the percentage is that you're going to have to give to get the money you want. You negotiate and you get to a point where both sides are happy that we'll take $1 billion and we'll give 17%. Well, we really only had $750 million in mind. Fine, we're down to 8%. It's a back and forth as you sort of figure out. It's not like a stock where you can go on a website and you can see, well, the value of a share is blank. These entities where private equity firms invest are not necessarily publicly traded entities. The valuation is more difficult to surmise. So basically all you're saying is it's a negotiation, and people hide behind due diligence and they hide behind, oh, we're going to look at 3x revenue or 5 times EBITDA. And they'll just give you stuff that is really based on fantasy. They'll say it's based on industry comps. I'm not sure what the comp is of investing in a conference. That's why it's a true negotiation. If you go back and listen to the sporting class, my opinion hasn't changed. I can't remember that episode, of course, but the best thing about me being on all these shows, Coca, is that I have a point of view, is my point of view. Is it subject to change? It depends on what I say at that particular moment, but generally it doesn't. What is the downside for the conference? Now, these private equity venture capital firms want a return. It's being reported by my colleague Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports that it could be up to $1 billion. It could be up to 20%. But what it doesn't say is, because there's no way to know it till you see the agreement, is what is the plan? How do they get paid money on their investment? What revenue streams go to the firm? What are their rights of operation? And they're all going to say publicly, oh, we have nothing to do with it. Well, when you own 20% of a conference, you don't sit there passively. You don't go all Nelson Peltz either. You have provisions in there of where you can be active, where you can't be, what you have the right to have a say in, and what you don't. There is a long way to go. But Brett Yormark is definitely onto something. Do you think that he would be worthy of a good annual bonus and a contract extension if he can go to his Big 16 and say, gentlemen, ladies, we are about to distribute an extra $5 to $9 million to each of you per year. You can save diving. Bingo. Okay, let's take a break because we've got some stuff to go over. If you think I wasn't going to cover Dan Hurley's appearance on Dan Batard Show yesterday, then you don't know me very well. But first, we're going to review a movie that just came out yesterday, and I watched it immediately. And we will do both those things after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson here on a Friday, wishing you a happy and safe weekend. We are about 19 minutes away from going Loverboy and getting about 68, 69s baked, riding, surfing into the weekend. We should tell you what the plan is next week. Next week, early in the week, Pablo, John Skipper, and I will be overseas at a conference called the Conline Conference. There will be Nothing Personal episodes. There are 2 really cool sit-downs coming to start the week. You will like them. I will be back for a live show next Thursday, the 20th. Do we want to say who the sit-downs are, or do we want people to be surprised? Do we start? What do you want to do about that? We forgot to cover that pre-show. Totally up to you, Coca. I'm happy to tell you who we talked to, or I'm happy to keep it a surprise. I'll let him think about that. I'll let him marinate as I review a movie. I don't know about you, but I was born. This is going to be something that about 50% of our audience is going to love. Don't tune me out if you're young. Just hear me out, please. A movie came out yesterday called Brats. Brats is a documentary directed by Andrew McCarthy about the Brat Pack. The Brat Pack. Andrew McCarthy, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, maybe John Cryer. I need to get a little emotional here, and I'll tell you why. Judd Nelson. 1985 Breakfast Club came out. 1985, I was a junior in high school. I was literally drinking from a fire hose back then. That was when all these high school movies came out. Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, 16 Candles, St. Elmo's Fire, Breakfast Club. That was exactly for me at 17 years old. I remember looking at Breakfast Club and thinking, I know Bender. I want to be, that was played by Judd Nelson. I'd love to be Emilio Estevez. I'm probably more like Anthony Michael Hall. And wouldn't it be great to be more than just friends with Molly Ringwald? And he found a way, John Hughes in that movie, to speak to us in a way that no one had before, no one has since. And I would argue that there's been no coming-of-age movies since the 80s that have been as meaningful to people of that age since that time. I really believe that. Andrew McCarthy did a documentary about how he felt about being a member of the Brat Pack, the impact it had on his career, the impact it had on him. And here's a little epiphany. Movies are movies. In real life, none of the Brat Pack were actually friends. He ends up tracking down the other members of the Brat Pack who would participate, having not seen him for decades. It's a trip down memory lane. It's a reminder. It's a reminder of what's real, what's not, and what we wish were real sometimes is. Please, no matter your age, watch Brats. Turns out that our esteemed producer of the award-winning Nothing Personal, Are you coming to St. Louis 11 days from now? I'm going to need to find a Coca in the crowd. Who's going to help me in St. Louis? Someone's got to. Turns out our esteemed producer wants the sit-downs to be a surprise. You're going to like them. That's Monday and Tuesday. There will be Samson sit-downs. No show Wednesday. It's a federal holiday. Back Thursday. Nothing personal pick of the day. We had the Oilers making it a series. I think it's like wishful thinking. The Panthers are the better team. The Oilers did not win. We're down to 81 and 93, and we are in the crapper. I feel as though it's almost time to fade me. I'm going with the Celtics +1 over the Mavs as my pick tonight. It feels like the Mavs need to win a game. The NBA is so angry with these playoffs, but the Celtics are just too good. So do I go with the better team who's actually getting a point? It's like a pick 'em +1. What are the odds? The Mavs win by 1, I guess, down 2 at the buzzer. Luka, that's called a push. We're taking the Celtics +1. The NBA Finals will end tonight, just like I assume the Stanley Cup is going to end on Saturday, tomorrow. Let's move on. I'm too upset about the nothing personal pick of the days. Do I have a better record on Thursday than other days? The DraftKings pick of the day on Thursday. I lost this one, but I seem to recall that I do well on Thursdays. I wonder what that's about. All right. Play me some music, Mr. Coca.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson. Get into my DMs at David P. Samson on X. You can find me if you want, davidsamsonpodcast.com. That's the website that has tour information, it has merch. Ask a question. It may make the show. I may respond by email. I may respond by DM, Instagram as well, David P. Samson, or not. David, did you listen to Batard Show today? Spoiler alert, this came in yesterday. Dan Hurley said that leverage was not the issue, and those who think so had a dumb take. Could you please discuss? Ooh, you know how to get on the show. Yes, I can. For those of you who did not hear the interview, you should always listen to Batard on the DraftKings Network. You can watch it at 11. We're the lead-in show on DraftKings Network. You can find it on Roku. You can find it on Samsung. You can find it on DraftKings. We're on from 10 to 11. Batard's on from 11 to 2. Coca, play the sound, please.
Worst takes I've ever heard is like, this was a leverage play by me to improve my situation at UConn. Like, I don't need leverage here. We've won back-to-back national championships, at this place. And I'm not, this was never a leverage situation for me. I've had a contract in place here, for a couple of weeks, and the financial part in terms of salary has been done for a while.
Hold on. Can we break down that tape? Can we get some sort of, that's got to be the next thing we get when Meadowlark gives us more resources. I'd like to get some sort of ability to write like they do when they're counting elections, or the telestrator. I don't know why I couldn't come up with that word. Let's break that down. A couple things. One, not a leverage play. You're proud of that? The whole point of getting someone else interested in what you do is for leverage. The whole reason to get more than one bidder for your services is leverage. Oh, it was just an honor. He talked about walking through the door in LA and meeting with Rob and meeting the buses. Would you give me a break? Total horse hockey. Now, I get why you want to feed that to Dan. I get why you're going to say that. But to me, you're missing the point. And you're lying. You want to call me having a dumb take? I'll take it. My dumb take is thinking that you're smart. Maybe that's the dumb take. Of course, it's leverage. But wait a minute. Right after you said it wasn't leverage, you pointed out, why would I need leverage when I'd already negotiated a deal with Connecticut? I guess we're looking at Harbaugh and Michigan situation, where every Muntin Gudunishik, you have to worry about him jumping to the pros. Did you have a contract with UConn or didn't you? You already knew that you were signing a deal and had finished the money, but you were talking about NIL and coaching staff pay. I love the loyalty, don't get me wrong. But when you have an opportunity to get a deal done with a school that'll make you the highest paid college coach in the country, hold on, I'm holding out for another $10K for my guy over here. Give me a small break. And if you knew you had a deal, where's the loyalty in that? If you knew that you were never going to move, great. Just acknowledge it. Say, listen, I may have been willing to move, I may not have. And then, not pictured there, it turns out that Hurley did have a number, which means that if the Lakers had given him enough money, he would have broken the deal with Connecticut. Is that the type of employee you want working for you as your coach? Hey, we got a deal. No, you know what? I'm looking around. It's like getting married and then taking a look at the bridesmaids and saying, hey, I'm not necessarily busy right after the wedding. I just really wanted to land that better. What's the thing in the Jewish weddings that we all do when we're up on the chair? The hora. God dang it. Hey, I know I'm getting married, but let's talk after the hora. That would have been amazing if that were just cut right like that. I just find the whole thing to be unsavory. I don't really understand exactly why you flirt with LA, because it feels good. You can get front row seats if you're the highest paid college coach. You want to meet the Bus family, call up and say, hey, I'd like to come have breakfast with you, Rob. They'd be happy to meet with you. But instead, you have a deal, you go to LA, then you make a big decision where you were torn up. Well, what were you torn up about? Were you torn up about the fact that were you going to have lied to UConn, or were you going to have lied to your wife? Nah, totally up to you. So Hurley, that's really good sound, Dan. That was a good interview. It made me laugh. So now the Lakers have to release. Did you see what's going on with Shams and Woj, the two basketball insiders who are fighting now? I had it right. I had it right. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. We both only have sources. I don't think you need to be part of Mensa to be an insider, because basically you just get stuff from people and then give stuff back to them in order to keep getting it from them. How they've parlayed that, you know what? 1-0 them. They parlay that into 8-figure deals. God bless you. You win. Shams had it the whole time. Redick. Woj said no. Hurley. Not Hurley. Now Woj is embarrassed. I wonder whether Woj was used by Hurley when Hurley acknowledged they had a relationship with Woj to make the Lakers interested. Were they interested? Were they not? Was the deal with Connecticut done? Was it not? Is it done now? I got a whole bunch of questions now. Hi, my name is JJ Redick. All right, I'm good. I think you can say JJ Redick or David Samson, and it means the same thing. No stroke this morning. JJ Redick this weekend will be interviewing with the Los Angeles Lakers. Just like this weekend, I will be interviewing with Kelsey and Swift. What do you think the Lakers are going to say? Luckily, word came out. Don't worry, Lakers fans. Everyone in LA, be calm. JJ Redick, rumors have it, he understands and is okay with the Hurley situation. Phew! Thank God. The number of times we interviewed a manager, many, fired a lot of managers, so you interview a lot of managers. The number of times one manager candidate said to us, you know, I'm really sort of upset that you're interviewing other managers. Wait for it. It's a sprinkled donut. I think JJ Redick walks in and the first thing he says is, am I not your first choice? No, of course he doesn't. I needed to answer that question for you. JJ Redick could not give a tinker's damn whether or not Hurley was close, not close, whether the Lakers loved him, didn't love him, offered him 70, didn't offer him 70. Doesn't matter. Was Redick the guy from the beginning? Was he not? Doesn't matter. When you have a chance to be a manager or a coach, it does not matter who came before you, who will come after you, because all of them are hired to be fired. It matters that you get the chance and you negotiate your own deal. You think that Redick will say, I'll take the 670, and the Lakers will say, shove it, J squared. As we said on Nothing Personal way earlier, JJ Redick will be the next head coach of the Lakers, and he will not get 6 years, $70 million. Thank God he's okay. In between periods, I was watching baseball last night, and I was thinking about all sorts of stuff as it related to what's going on this season. I've been thinking a lot recently, and as we head into the weekend, I wanted to mention something. You know our philosophy, pitching and defense wins rings. You need to be very strong in both those categories. You can't mash yourself to a World Series championship. Pitching, defense, and luck are the three basic principles, the three legs of the stool of the girl next door. I've been thinking about the pitching this year. I've been thinking about Philadelphia. I've been thinking about the Phillies because Aaron Nola got rocked last night. He was pitching against the Red Sox. He's on the Phillies. And the Phillies had like 4 of the top 6, or all 5 of their starters are just outstanding. Remember, Nola's the one who re-signed for all those dollars this past offseason. It's just been absolutely outstanding. It is a major reason why the Phillies have the best record in baseball. They've got the largest division lead over the struggling Braves. Aaron Nola got rocked in his ERA. He was like 4th in ERA in the league, and now he's down to 21st. That's what happens when you give up 8 runs in a couple innings. I was thinking about how you could have players, and this is really what I wanted to point out to you all. The leader in ERA in the National League is Lopez of the Braves. You've got the Phillies, 2 of the top 5, and then you've got the Cubs, 2 of the top 5 in Imanaga and Assad. We do all these stats. We talk to you about the importance of pitching, and we pay pitchers, and we look at earned run average. We look at all of these multi-level stats. But do you know what really matters? You know, record. People say pitchers and wins, pitchers and saves, pitchers and wins, mostly pitchers and wins. It means nothing. I'd always rather have a pitcher who has wins than a pitcher who doesn't. It means that something good is happening to your team. It's like giving a player a bonus for being the LCS MVP. Please, may I have another? The World Series MVP, you want $1 million? Done. The Cubs have been struggling. When we get to Chicago on July 1st, you can imagine that the Cubs and White Sox will be a huge topic of conversation. Under first-year manager Craig Counsell, he of Wisconsin, they've got 2 of the top 5, and they're below 500, struggling mightily. Worst team in the National League since May 1st. Worst team. Phillies, were I to do the math, likely have the best record in the National League since May 1st. And I'm surmising. Yet, those are the top 5 pitchers. So what is it about pitchers? What is it about ERA that matters? Well, you take ERA, you combine it with all these other stats, and then you try to evaluate. That's not how it works. The way GMs are looking at their teams is we are now a month and 16 days away from the trade deadline. The way that we look at our assets, we look at how a player is performing a particular year. We match it against the expectation we had for the player, and then we figure out what the market views of that player are. Every player doesn't have a no-trade clause, which for me was everybody but Stanton. We would mark to market every single year at least once. What should they be getting paid versus what they are getting paid? And then we would assess the value of each player as it relates to trading him to one of the other 29 teams. And the reason we did that is that all of the noise that surrounds the stats, all the noise that surrounds the season as it unfolds, which baseball is clearly unfolding. We're halfway through June. What the front office is saying is, where are we in the standings? It doesn't matter that we've got MVP candidates, Rookie of the Year candidates. It doesn't matter what we did during the offseason, who we signed, who we didn't sign. None of that matters. The front office will tell you that they're hiring all these people and looking at all these things. But guess what? They're looking at wins and losses. As president, I looked at that, and I looked at dollars and revenue too. Well, guess what? It's time. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Thursday live. Enjoy the sit downs Monday and Tuesday. It's just business. This is nothing personal.